Hey guys, welcome back to a Plot of Confusion. I am your host, Derek, and we're going to talk about something that's very interesting that I've been seeing the headlines for a while now, that there's something going on in Jerusalem. We're going to take a look at some of this. I'm going to read some of this article, and it's very interesting because one of the things that's being discussed here is that could this be a end time event? So we're going to take a look at it, see what it has to say, and then I'll let you make that judgment call for yourself. Now, I am a Christian, and I do look at things and see if they fit within the Bible. And so when I came across this, I was like, something is moving in Jerusalem. The time for the third temple. Now, I've talked about this before. If you see my other podcast, I talked about this in my other podcast called, give me a second. The Church of Satan, who is actually the Church of Satan. In that podcast. And I kind of lay it out there that the ones that call themselves Jews right now, I feel, are not Jews. I think it's where the scripture says they will say that they are Jews, but the truth of the matter is they will not be Jews. And that they will essentially be a foreign entity inside the land of Jerusalem. So now I'm seeing where they're talking about wanting the third temple to be built. And if anyone understands Bible apocalyptic understanding of end times, building the third temple is where the Antichrist will come and stand in there to declare himself God. Now, if you looked and saw things that was going on with when President Trump was in office, the rabbis of them had their Messiah, but they never disclosed who this Messiah was and how they knew he was the Messiah that they'd been looking for, even though Jesus fits all those credentials. But hey, let's get into this. So let's take a look at this article that is talking about this. Very interesting artwork here. It says, all right. So on a Thursday, Itamar Ben Gvir, far-right Jewish Power Party, a member of the Kizzites, entered the Temple Mount on the 74th day of Israel's independence. During his visit, Ben Gvir announced the will of the many Jews for the construction of a third temple and said, it is time to build a Jewish synagogue on the Temple Mount. Now, with this being on the 74th Independent Day, it really, and the crazy thing is that the story didn't get as much traction I thought it would, with this breaking, but with everything else that's going around the world and inflation, I could see where this is a article or a story or an event that's really being overlooked by the mainstream media, because this is close to you're literally stepping on a fire ant hill there. I mean, you're really poking that fire ant, and you're ready for that son of a gun to come out and just, all of them come out and just bite you and kill you. Kind of that stirring the pot, so to speak. Hitting the hornet's nest, also, or is another term you can use. These things puts off alarms for me to start, hey, whoa, starts going, wait a second, okay, what's going on? What's going on? Are we really seeing events unfold? And I do believe so, because Google has now got an AI that is aware of itself. So let's go on down. So right here is the where he's stepping on the Temple Mount, and he's making this declaration. He's saying that there will be, there's got to be, there has to be the third temple, and it has to be built right here. Even though, historically, if you take a look at the old Roman maps, where the actual Temple Mount is for the Muslims is actually in the area of the Roman Legion where their men were stationed. So when you take a look at it and you go over to the other side of it, then you're going and saying, wait, this here has the potential to be the size that I need to build this third temple. So, third temple, for a lot of people are like, what's so, what is the third temple? The third temple for the Israelites is a building that at one time housed the spirit of Yehovah. And that when they would go and do their feast and make an offering, he would accept it or reject it. So when you have the Jewish people are looking to reconnect, I hate to say it like that, but to reconnect to their God, to who is also my God. They feel they need to build this temple so that when they can make blood sacrifices to him through animal sacrifices. If you're a Christian, you know that has been done away with. It's interesting because historically, you have a lot of things that they claim that you couldn't. There's a lot of things that you can't really find out things about Jesus, but there's a lot of things you can, especially Josephus, especially when you're looking at a lot of the historians of the time. You take a look into the officials of the time, and Jesus existed. He was here. He walked among us, and in doing so, he also saw the temple, and he said that there won't be one stone left that's not turned with the destruction of that temple, and it was destroyed about 70 years after Jesus had been crucified. So them wanting to now build this is a way for them to establish that Israel is in the land and that God is among them. That's the whole purpose for them to build this temple, or want to, even though in the scriptures that Christians look at, that temple gets built, it is the Antichrist that goes and stands in the temple and declares himself God. Let that sink in. They've said they're Messiahs here. Second thing they're saying now is that, we want to build this temple. So, then what ends up happening because of this, let me pull this up to look at a little bit more in depth. In the same vein, Jews newspaper Jerusalem Post has been constantly publishing articles lately related to the third temple. See, this is the momentum that they're wanting. That they're planning. They're wanting this third temple to be built. And for me, you're looking at the synagogue of Satan. I mean, if you have the devil himself sitting there getting his way, you have this third temple. They have their so-called Messiah because they don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. And then you start to recognize that, wait a second, the person they're backing a lot and who gave them the embassy to Jerusalem, and how people are just flocking to this person, and that he has this mega presence. It's, to me, it's alarming. It's alarming. Because when you really start looking at this stuff, you start recognizing that there are things in this world that are just on a level of something that you would have to call supernatural. And I believe that they have been planning and working for this for hundreds of years. And now things are starting to be in place, especially after what I've always looked at is Damascus becoming a ruinous heap. A lot of people don't realize that was a Bible prophecy that was going to be a part of the end times. It's like the herald of the end times, that when that happened, you knew your days were short. And I find it interesting that after it had been destroyed, all of a sudden, everything has been repping up and just going absolutely crazy. I mean, over multiple topics that we can't even get into this program today, maybe in a later program, but it goes on to say that they're focusing on the Jewish temple, they're focusing on there, and said, when blood spills on Passover and Easter, it is time to build a temple. With more Christians coming alongside the Jews and being passionate about the need to rebuild the temple. See, Christians are wanting the temple to be built because that solidifies that we're in the end times. The Jewish people want the temple built because that means that they can have their sacrifices again. So you have these two wanting the third temple. Now, the Muslims do not want a third temple because they feel that it will take away from the Dome of the Rock. So you have, you got three of the biggest religions all nestled together in a little cozy spot called Israel. And anyone sneezes, the other one's going to feel it and be ready to go. So with this, you have they want to rebuild the temple, and Palestinians do not. The reason why they says, I noted the article of the day before yesterday, a Christian's view of the coming temple. I mean, it's being pushed that it's coming no matter what. It's here. And so let's take a look at a little bit of what the Christian view of this would be. It would be all this at a time when incidents broke out between Jews and Muslims inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, with images making around the world. At the same time, the Palestinian Authority had asked the UN to intervene upon Israel is at odds with Russia. Something seems to be moving in Jerusalem. You have Russia that invaded Ukraine. You just had a terrorist, it was a terrorist bomber that tried to kill one of Putin's head men, and instead it killed the man's daughter. So, retaliation, oh, you bet. And with the fact that America's been sending things to Ukraine to maybe make one of those things, it's going to be backlash. I'm telling you, the world is revving up, not only for this to be built, but when this does get built or get started, the world's going to be so much at each other's throats that the love of many will wax cold, and that people will start to really even turn against their own children. That's the times we're creeping up in. There's really no other way to look at it other than it's happening. You have the confrontation at this mosque. The radical Muslims, the radical Jews are always at odds with one another. And it's like a big old hornet's nest. You stick something in and you shake it up a little bit, one of them is ready to sting you. And that's what you're seeing right here. It gets crazy. I'll try to make sure, if you're able to, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is the same name as the podcast. You can get to a link to come read the article for yourself. A temple in Jerusalem in the end days. Jerusalem, otherwise known as the Holy City, as historians have called it, has always been the biggest thorn in the long-running Arab-Israel conflict. The status of the city has been pending for decades with no visible prospect or restoration. The Palestinians claim a Palestinian state without settlements, dream of East Egypt as their East Jerusalem as their capital. On the contrary, the Jews oppose the plan to divide the eternal and indivisible city, which, among other things, gives enormous benefits to the economy. In Jerusalem, the moment, so in Judea, the holiest place of the worship of the Jews of the world, is the Wall of Tears, located in the mountain of the Mount Temple, where they see to rebuild the third temple of Solomon. So you have already the rabbis and people, they've already got the vegetables and all this stuff ready to go. They just need to have a red heifer and also the building itself to be there, to cover it with that animal, and then they can go back doing what they've always done. You see, the thing is that they are so wrapped up in their man-made traditions that they don't recognize that it's not really Jehovah's laws that they're keeping. It's their own laws that they've created for on themselves. And it's a crying shame to see this going on, because honestly, I think that if they could put away their differences on what their spiritual belief is, and just go into it with an open mind and brotherly love, and sit there and listen to one another, I think they would be surprised at how much they have in common. I really do. In theory, the construction of the temple will begin right now, not for one, but on the spot where the Israelites want to build the temple, where it already the Dome of the Rock, an Islamic sanctuary, the third holiest Muslim site after Mecca and Medina, located next to the oldest mosque on the planet, which is Al-Aqsa. Now, that was where they had confrontations taking place there. Now, you have the Arabs are looking for sanctuary with the Dome of the Rock located at the center of the Temple Mount in the area of the Jewish Second Temple. There, they say the myth of the sacrifice of Abraham took place. I don't believe it was a myth. I believe that Abraham was doing that because he was asked to, and then he was given something to sacrifice instead of his son. Because one thing about Jehovah is he doesn't ask for blood sacrifice from virgins or from people or from children. It's what really sets him apart from all the other gods that's out there. So either the builders will have to negotiate with the Muslims, or even more interesting, look for a new place to build. First possibility seems unheard of the Muslims everywhere. The first temple was built by King Solomon, and about 3,000 years ago, and destroyed by the troops destroyed, and the second temple was built during the reign of the Jewish leader Zerubbabel, which was around 520 to 526 BC, and destroyed at 70 AD by the Roman rulers, which I just told y'all. Both temples stood in the same place on the Temple Mount of Jerusalem. Now, the Bible says that in the future there will be a third temple. In particular, you can take a look at Matthew chapter 24:15. It says, "Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of through the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, the words of the holy place are refrain of a new Jerusalem temple that will appear in Jerusalem in the foreseeable future. So whatever's taking place and the things that are moving quickly, it is straight up letting you know that these people are planning and doing and working as hard as they can to get the end times to start. So if a third temple gets built, what does that mean for the rest of the world? Well, one of the big things you can count on for the rest of the world is you'll have turmoil. You'll have attacks. You'll have terrorist bombers. You'll have the whole enchilada. But this time it will be global. It'll be global because they'll look at the UN. The UN didn't come in and stop this from happening. So then they're going to be like, well, we'll take matters in our own hands. And it breaks my heart, but it's a friggin' bloodbath. It's what it's going to be. So, you let me know what you think about this topic. If you want me to do some more of this topic on here, please let me know. I'm going to end it here. And I'm going to end it with what Grandpa always told me. Pay attention to your surroundings because you never know what lies around the corner. God bless to you all.